Hey guys, welcome to Zero Fidelity and welcome to my review of the Polk Audio T50 towers. Now because these speakers are going to be pretty popular, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down this review into two separate parts. Now the first part is going to be dedicated to those of you who aren't really audiophiles. You just want to know how these speakers sound, whether or not they're going to work on your receiver, and whether or not they're going to work in your room. So once we get past that, I'm going to then transition over to part two, which is going to be more dedicated to my audiophile brothers and sisters. So on that note, let's get this party started. So here they are, the Polk Audio T50 towers. Now these speakers retail for roughly $130 a piece, and they were designed to compete directly against Pioneer's entry-level offerings. Now these towers are a lot smaller than the Pioneer speakers, but they nonetheless bring forward a lot of interesting design choices. And the first thing that caught my attention was this tweeter. It essentially uses a waveguide, and think of it like a miniature horn that's designed to give the speaker a little bit more efficiency and to just give you a livelier, more integrated sound. Now, these three woofers here, which look really cool by the way, there's something interesting about them, and that is only the top woofer is active, which means it's only the top woofer that's producing sound. The bottom two woofers are just passive radiators, which means they have no wires connecting to them. They're just designed to augment the woofers and to let bass essentially flow naturally from the speaker in a very controlled manner, and it's just designed to give you better bass quality. So, on that note, let's talk about how they actually sound. Alright guys, so when you get right down to it, these speakers are all about quality over quantity. So they have a very natural, a very warm sound, yet feature just enough sparkle on the top end to really breathe life into your music or movie collection. They are also a very balanced sounding set of speakers. So when you listen to them, they're not designed for any one particular frequency to just jump out and dominate your attention. To me, this is a great thing because when I listen to these, I can just kick back, enjoy the experience, and not have to be distracted by the sound of the speakers themselves. So another great thing about these speakers is that they're very easy to work with, and you don't really need a whole bunch of power to get them to sing, which means you don't need a degree in acoustics, nor do you need a power amplifier that can drain the national grid of a small country just to get good sound out of these. All you need is a $200 receiver from Best Buy and just an adequate room to get these things to perform. In fact, the only real downside I could find about these speakers is that they are small. At the end of the day, they are just a two-way loudspeaker, which means if you have a big room and you're wanting to fill that big room with a whole bunch of loud sound, yeah, you're going to need something a little bit bigger, something a little bit more powerful than these speakers. But if you're in a medium to small sized room and you listen at reasonable volumes, man, these speakers are really, really easy to recommend. And that leads me to my final thoughts. Alright guys, so let's be real. Most of us who hear these speakers are going to hear them at Best Buy on those crappy metal shelves and that crappy little network they have in probably what is the worst environment ever conceived by man for listening to speakers. These things are just not going to sound very good at Best Buy. Most natural sounding products suffer in that kind of environment. But I will say this, once you bring them home, I guarantee you're going to love what you hear. These speakers are incredibly easy to recommend. They're built to last a very long time. And what can I say? I absolutely love them, which leads me to part two of this review. Hello my audiophile brothers and sisters, and look, I'm not going to waste your time here. I'm going to cut straight to the chase and tell you all that I think these speakers may be one of the best values that we've seen on the market for a long time. And I know what you're saying, hey Sean, well, that's a pretty bold statement, especially when there's a certain German company, wink wink, who's been releasing some pretty awesome stuff lately. And I would say, you know what, you're right, and they have been releasing some awesome stuff, but I think Polk Audio really knocked it out of the park. And here's why. For starters, let's talk about balance. The way Polk Audio's integrated the drivers here has just been so well done, and I say this with the context of putting these speakers on a dedicated two-channel system. So we're not talking about AV receivers here. We're talking about a dedicated turntable or CD player or streamer, integrated amp or a preamp amp combo. We're talking about a legit system. Doesn't have to be expensive, but a legit purpose-built system. When you give these speakers that treatment, they just show you a whole different world. You get wonderful integration, but here's the big thing. You get tone out of these speakers that's fantastic. And let me explain what I mean by that. I mean, when you listen to a piano, when you listen to a guitar and all these different instruments, one thing that affordable speakers struggle like hell to do is to capture the harmonic structure of these instruments. The second order harmonics and the third order harmonics. Basically, when you hit the note, you listen to the tone, you listen to it resonate. Most speakers miss out on that. These do not. Surprisingly, they do a wonderful job of maintaining that sound and that nature of the instrument. And that alone just almost flabbergasts me. But that's not the biggest thing. The biggest thing is that these speakers are musical and they just draw you in. They have a very natural, a very inviting presentation to them. They're very balanced. And when I sit down and I listen to these things, I quickly forget the fact that I'm listening to speakers and I start focusing more on the music. And let me tell you, I've gone through a lot of product through the years. A lot. And there are many $10,000 speakers that can't do that. Alright, so don't get ahead of me, guys. I am not calling these speakers the equivalent of a $10,000 set of high-end loudspeakers. Heck, there are plenty of $1,000 and even $500 to $600 speakers that could take these to task. But what I am saying is for a total of $260, what Polk Audio's managed to do at this price point, especially when you consider the fact that you don't even need stands with them, it's just astounding. Guys, these are the speakers that make me energized. They make me pumped up because at the end of the day, this is almost like the gateway drug. This shows you just how involving the musical experience can be. You don't have to pay a lot for it, but when you do start going up the line of different and better products, you start to appreciate what you get. Well, that's the makings of an audiophile, and that's what keeps our industry alive. So I'm going to conclude the review on a completely different and unusual note. This is going to be addressed directly to you guys at Polk Audio. Alright, here's the deal. I love your company. It was your products that got me started on this crazy journey, but it seems like you guys went to sleep for a very long time, and it was frustrating for me because I know the resources have been there. I know the engineering prowess has been there to produce some really amazing products. And it is wonderful to see that you've put all of that to good use with the T50s. You guys have done a great job here. Please keep this up. Remember the heart and the logo. And for God's sake, please address the tri-laminate tweeter in the RTI series. It just needs to go. Alright guys, as always, thanks for watching. And until next time, peace.